all of these different energy types and energy transformations to go about getting energy out. And so there's not a lot to do here in this lesson, but it is a lot of information that is useful to have. So here is the state of the world. In this lesson, we're going to examine the effect of energy transformation on global systems. This is the big picture. First concept, Earth is a system in which energy is transformed. That should not be an earth-shattering revelation. All our planet is doing is cycling energy from one form to another. We get it from the sun. It turns, as light and heat, and the Earth expels it back, large portions of it the same way. But while it's here, it does a bunch of stuff. It is responsible for wind. It's responsible for weather, tides, currents, volcanic activity, mountain formation. All of this is due to energy transformation. Solar energy, the light we get from the sun. Gravitational potential energy. Gravitational potential energy and nuclear energy all play important roles in Earth's system. So here we go. Solar energy. None of this will be earth-shattering. This is elementary school science right here. Of these three, solar energy has the greatest impact on Earth, and it makes sense that it would. The sun goes out, we all die. It's too cold. Life will not be sustaining on this planet. That we would all die if the sun went out? Yeah. Sun goes out, photosynthesis doesn't happen. Photosynthesis doesn't happen, oxygen doesn't get produced. Oxygen doesn't get produced. You breathe all the oxygen, you exhale all the CO2. Now we suffocate to death. That's assuming you haven't frozen to death yet. Because if the sun's not there, where is the Earth getting all its heat from? It's not. So much of what we require comes from the sustaining energy of the sun. Yes? No, I don't know. What's more likely, Evelyn, is that a series of volcanic eruptions will eject so much crap into the atmosphere that it blocks the sun. That happened. That is on global record as being a thing. Back in I want to say it was the 1300s, 1200s, 1300s, there were large enough volcanic eruptions that it was winter for most of the year. Crops didn't grow. It was too cold. The global average temperature plummeted. It was cold all year. Why? Because the ash in the atmosphere just blocked the sun from reaching the surface of the earth. And it is not unreasonable that could happen again. It would suck, but it could absolutely happen again. So that is the more likely effect. Solar energy is wildly important. Solar energy is responsible for the water cycle, the evaporation, the precipitation, evaporation, condensation, and precipitation that we're used to. Evaporation, condensation, precipitation. This is the water cycle. Water cycle doesn't happen. We have a whole bunch of problems. Most of the power that we have here in BC is dependent on the water cycle. Because does anyone know where most of our power in BC comes from? Sorry? Yeah, hydroelectric dams. And you need water behind those dams. Because if they're not there, and this is something you looked at in grade 9, if the water's not there, the dams don't spin their turbines, there's no power. Never mind the fact that we need water for everything else. So solar energy, huge impact, both on the water cycle and on photosynthesis. Both of those are two kind of huge ones. When you're ready, flip the page. The next one is nuclear. And let's be clear on where this is happening. Nuclear energy is happening inside the Earth. I did hear that. Was that a sarcastic what, or is that a actually your mind has been blown kind of what? So there are all sorts of, these are heavy materials. When the Earth was formed, the Earth was mostly molten, like it was hot, and heavy things tend to sink. These really heavy radioactive materials sunk down into the Earth, and as they undergo radioactive decay, they release a ton of energy. That energy gets trapped inside the Earth and is partially, at least, responsible for a lot of the thermal energy. This blank right here is thermal, heat energy inside the Earth's crust. Now, you might be familiar with the fact that that thermal energy is responsible for hotspots. Hotspots cause volcanoes. We also get volcanoes other ways, but we get the whole idea of plate tectonics. Have you guys looked at this before? It used to be part of the Science 10 curriculum, but it is no longer. The idea that the pieces that make up the surface of the Earth are sliding around on top of this molten layer, okay? Creating new Earth, forcing other Earth to go under other Earth, creating mountain ranges, volcanoes. They will continue to erupt. Like Mount Etna in Sicily erupted like a week ago. There's active volcanoes all over our planet. And there was tourists on the volcano when it erupted. It's just like ridiculous. Nope, they did not die. The eruption was not big enough to. But you can YouTube it. Like they're standing on the mountain, they see a little bit of smoke, and then boom, there's lots of smoke, and most of them run away, and they all survived. It wasn't a gigantic lava eruption like you might expect or you might hope to see, but yeah, they were on Etna when it erupted last 2 weeks ago, last week, something like that. This thermal activity drives tectonic plates, is the blank we're going to throw in here, to move, and is the source of not all, but a chunk of volcanic activity. Hotspots have different effects depending on where they are. There is a hotspot, my favorite hotspot, bless this hotspot, responsible for the creation of the Hawaiian Islands. There's a hotspot, it's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It sits in one spot, and the Pacific plate just kind of floats over top of it. And the longer it sits, the more likely a new island springs forth. So Hawaii springs forth, and then the hotspot moved, or the plate moved, created Maui, kept going, created the next one, kept going, created the next one. And so you get all of these Hawaiian Islands, that's actually backwards, that were created. And right now, the active one is under the Big Islands, under Kona. That's where the hotspot is, and as the plate moves towards Japan, you get these. Could there be another Hawaiian Island that pops out of the Pacific Ocean? Absolutely, totally possible. It'll take a really long time. There's a hotspot underneath Montana. Montana? Wyoming. Wyoming. What's in Wyoming? Does anybody know? The great state of Wyoming. There's a park, little park called Yellowstone National Park. Under that park, there is a hotspot sitting there. All of Yellowstone is actually sitting on top of a volcano. If that volcano erupted, it would be devastating. It's under what's called a supervolcano. You add the word super in front of volcano, it should be that much more terrifying. There's a hot spot there, and that's why there are hot springs there. There's a hot spot underneath. That's not a hot spot. There's a hot spot underneath. Those are the two I know of for sure. Yeah, Kilimanjaro might not be a bad example of one too. Kilimanjaro was a volcano. Central Africa. They're all over the planet. Everest is a different problem. Everest is not a volcano. Yeah, earthquakes. Because Everest has been formed by the Indian subcontinent, that plate that India is on, and the Chinese plate, and instead of one going under the other, they're like, nope, I'm going to be bigger. And the other one says, nope, I'm going to be bigger. And they go like this. And so rather than one going under, they both go up. And so that's why that's why the whole range is as big as it is because neither one of those plates wants to give way. And so you get these, and the African plate is telling the Indian plate, you got to get out of my way, because Africa is actually splitting. So Africa is trying to go somewhere, and India is trying to move into where China is, and China's like, nah, we're not happening here, and so they're just going up as Africa splits apart. Plate tectonics are really cool. It used to be a whole unit. I used to teach it over 2 or 3 weeks, but it's out now, and so we're going to move on. Gravitational potential energy is another. This is what powers our province. It's not just gravitation. It's a specific kind of gravitational potential energy. It's a gravitational potential energy involving falling water. We need that water cycle to put the water up high so that we don't have to carry it up high, so that we can fill those dams. There's one in Mission, BC, just up the road. There's ocean currents that spin turbines. Those ocean currents that are spinning those turbines and the tides that go in and out, that's all gravitational potential energy. Gravitational potential energy from the moon, of all places. The moon's gravity yanks on the water. Actually, it yanks on more than the water. But the water is the only part of the earth that's going to move with the moon, and that's what makes the tides happen. Oh, okay. Close you. Let's try again, shall we? So we require all of these energy transformations to be a thing. Flip the page. Okay. It wouldn't be a science class if we didn't talk about global warming. So here we go. The Earth's atmosphere is being heated. So that solar energy that we talked about. Solar energy comes in on this band. Yes, Evelyn, you have a question? No. Earth's polluted because of us. Okay, so this is the band that the sun's light is coming in on. So this is the visible light's right in the middle here. That's why it's labeled visible light. You have a little bit of the ultraviolet spectrum, and then you get a little bit of the infrared spectrum. This is where the sun's light is coming in. But as you know, warm objects release heat. This is Earth's radiation. So Earth's energy out. And you can see that they're different. They're different parts of the light spectrum. These guys have higher energy. These guys are lower energy. They're different kinds of light. This is infrared. This is ultraviolet, visible, a little bit of infrared. So that's what this blank right here is. The sun's solar energy consists of visible light, infrared, and UV. So just on either side of visible light. And then this fun diagram, which you've probably seen before because there's a few topics that we kind of beat to death over your guys' educational career. Global warming is one of them. Because the sun's energy is at a particular section of the light spectrum, it has no problem punching its way through all the crap that we have in our atmosphere. The clouds, the pollution that we put there, punches through. There's no issue doing that. But then once it hits our Earth, it does a bunch of work. It gets transformed a bunch of different ways. And then on the way out, this section right here is lower energy. So this section right here is lower energy light. And the problem with that lower energy light is that the things that we've put in our atmosphere are good at absorbing this low energy light. So you get the light energy, the lower energy, as it gets emitted, it gets absorbed, this section right here, it gets absorbed by our atmosphere. Now the Earth would do this on its own anyway. But we've pumped a bunch of extra stuff into the atmosphere, and that's make this happens more than it should. And so not only are we getting heat from the sun, we're getting heat from the Earth that's trying to make its way back out into space that gets trapped up here. And this is what's contributing to, and at this point, it's not, I mean, it's not up for debate really. This is, as far as the scientific community is concerned, this is what's contributing to global warming. That extra energy that's getting absorbed as the Earth is trying to get rid of it. Sorry? No, everyone hopes that that is not true. Thankfully, it isn't. You're wrong. Okay, so what have we pumped into the atmosphere? We've pumped greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Okay, what's a greenhouse gas? Hands up if you've ever had a greenhouse, ever been inside a greenhouse, ever built a greenhouse. Cool. Brooke, what's a greenhouse? Why do you put the plants in the greenhouse? Why do they grow better in a greenhouse than other places? Okay, you're not wrong. We see the why is really important. It gets hotter in there. Why does it get hotter in there? Because as the sun is allowed in, look at this, the sun goes in. But then once it's in, it's not allowed to bounce back out. It gets trapped by all the glass or plastic or whatever it is. It's hotter, it's humider inside that greenhouse. Yes, Kaylee. Sorry? And it's, so plus, and it's a closed area. It's enclosed. That's an important detail. It's enclosed, and the sun's light is not allowed to escape. The heat bounces in, and then it bounces around inside this box because it can't go back out the way it came in. The glass, the plastic, whatever you've put on there to create your greenhouse is covering it up. The same is true of our atmosphere. Earth is also an enclosed space. It's a sphere. Anyone who wants to talk about a flat Earth, we can do it later. It's not true. Earth is a sphere, and over top of that sphere, we've got our atmosphere. And in that atmosphere, we've pumped a bunch of chemicals that do a really good, that are labeled as greenhouse gases, because they also do a really good job of allowing things to pass in, but not out. And when this happens long enough, over a large enough period of time, you get this effect we call global warming. That is a phenomenal question. Part of the problem is the CO2. Yeah, Matthew, do what you got to do. Do what you have to do. CO2 is part of the problem. We pumped a lot of CO2 into the atmosphere. CO2 is an interesting one because not only have we pumped a lot of it into the atmosphere, people make it. And there was a dude. Oh, when was he alive? I want to say like 900 years ago. That was responsible, single-handedly responsible, for lowering atmospheric CO2. And we can see it in tree records. He lowered atmospheric CO2. He had an army that helped him do this. If you're familiar with medieval history, that gentleman's name was Genghis Khan. And hands up if you know Genghis Khan, know of Genghis Khan. Okay, what did he do? Genghis Khan did what to the population of Asia and Europe? Massacred them. Not only did he massacre them, he planted forests where he went. So you have this guy, he was a Mongol, who desired to conquer Asia and Europe. Rode through Asia and Europe, slaughtering people in the known world, because known world, that was where the bulk of civilization was interacting with each other at the time, slaughtering each other. The people in Central and North, Central, and South America had nothing to do with Genghis Khan. They were not subjected to his invasions. And Genghis Khan killed so many people and wiped out so many cities that we are able to measure his effect on global carbon dioxide levels because of the reduction in population and the increase in plant life. That was able to come back behind him. It's ridiculous. Water vapor. I mean, there's nothing we can do about water vapor. Water vapor is another one. But part of the problem with water vapor is as the world gets warmer, more water vaporizes, causing things to get warmer still. Nitrous oxide and methane. And nitrous oxide is NO. Methane is CH4. These also get produced. These two things get produced as vegetation rots. Vegetation rots. Also, this is cows make a lot of methane. Literally cows farting. But because as a population, there's so many people who eat beef on this planet, there is a larger population of cows than there would be naturally. And we've deforested millions of acres of the planet. So not only have we added to the methane, we've decreased our Earth's the global ability to reduce and capture CO2. Because what gets rid of CO2? Nope. What process gets rid of CO2? Photosynthesis. So when we wipe out forests, we've decreased our ability to get rid of the CO2. So it's a good time. So the greenhouse gases cause Earth to become warmer. This leads to an increase in ocean temperature. A 3-degree increase can destroy coral reefs. Glaciers melting. That's going to make the water rise even further. Changes the amount of salt in the ocean, affects currents, affects ocean life that's able to survive there. It's a good time. We are not yet at a 3-degree increase, but we're getting there. I think we're at like 1.5 degrees. Something like that. We might have hit 2 degrees. I mean, there's a lot of water there. It takes a long time to raise its temperature. Flip the page. There is, in fact, a brighter side to all of this. There was a brighter side to all of this. And then there was an election down in the States recently. And they're walking back a ton of this stuff. But there are initiatives that are being taken to reduce the harmful effects of certain energy transformations. Sustainable technology, again, until the most recent American election, was getting pumped more and more. They were trying to reduce the dependency on oil and gas. Current U.S. presidential administration is walking a lot of this back. But he's only going to be there for a couple more years, at most. At most. Reducing energy consumption, more efficient devices, tools that use and waste less energy, reliance on renewables. Renewables are big. I mean, BC is already huge in renewables. Almost all of our power comes from renewables. BC Hydro, hydroelectric power, is a renewable energy source. We don't have to burn nearly as much coal and oil as, say, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba has to. But those places are really good for wind and solar. We just need more of them. So renewable energy is getting pushed more and more. Solar, hydro, wind, biomass. I don't know if you know, but Abbey Senior is actually built to be an energy efficient building. You know, if they ran it properly. Right now they don't, which makes it inefficient. But yeah, so the way the rotunda was built, increased roof and wall insulation to retain heat during the winter, keep it cool in the summer. You might not agree, especially in this room. It gets really warm. But yeah, so there is, so Evelyn, it's not all gloom and doom, but it is gloomy. And then, did anyone see the news? Like, I think it was 3 days ago, about recycling programs in Abbotsford. Did you see the news about recycling programs in Abbotsford? Abbotsford is going to be fined $175,000 because the people who live here cannot stop contaminating their recycling. And so we are going to get fined as a municipality because people keep putting things in their recycling that are not supposed to be there and wrecking all of the recycling. Things like not cleaning out your milk jugs. Things like putting things in the recycling, books, for example, are one of the complaints. That and electronics, things that are not designed to be recycled in the municipal recycling system. So yes, recycling is good. We tried to do this. Abbotsford's going to get fined because we're ignoring it. Go home and tell your parents to stop putting things in the recycling they shouldn't be putting in the recycling. Fantastic. Your family is not part of the problem. But man, it's a fun world in which we live. And this is the last lesson, the sum total. Unfortunately, I don't have time to do astronomy. But Evelyn, it's been a slice. This is it for you. Take a look at these last couple questions. If you finish those today, you may grab the physics review. Tomorrow we review. Friday you write me a quiz-ish, more like a quest. And next week we review for our final. Okay. Here you go. You have your task. The reviews for the unit are right here. All of it is fair game for Quest on Friday. If you got any questions, let me know. Meep has no questions? Any questions? Nope. That's unless my physics 11 review. You don't want that. These two. This guy. Physics 11. These two. Do not make best friends list. It's not time. Science 10. There you go. Yep. Do what you got to do.